Hi, I'm Tyson.
I'm Colin.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Adam.
And we're the Gamesmiths, and we just got done playing Patrol, a coloring card game, and we want to talk to you a little bit about our experience with it. To start, I've got a few thoughts of some of my experiences. First of all, I lost both of my games, and I, as a player, felt really down with it. But from a design perspective, I couldn't help but feel very excited about this design and very enthusiastic about the potential for the design and think that there's a lot of really fun things. I think I had so much fun afterwards thinking of, oh, what combinations can I do? How can I color my deck to make it better? How can I do these things? And I had such a good time with that kind of experience. The pre-planning and the experience of coloring, like even just coloring was really fun to see these kind of pieces of art come to life with their own unique personalities. It made me feel a little bit like when you're painting miniatures and things like that. I had a lot of fun with that. And even as I was losing pretty severely that first round with Adam, I felt very much engaged with the possibilities of some of the cards and what they could do and being like, oh, this would be a cool combination to be able to pull off. And there was a lot of really fun, unique aspects about the game that really, really excited me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the design's fantastic. I think it needs more development. But I think the design is awesome. The coloring is fun. I only colored one card while these guys were playing, but I'm glad I did because I got that experience and it was really enjoyable. I could see this definitely being a game that people want to keep buying more, just like Magic, this living card game of sorts, where people just want to buy more and more and more of them, color them differently, figure out. I mean, you can even get someone to buy the same card twice in this game. Oh, they'll color it different next time.
Well, because you can have 5 of each.
Yeah.
You can have up to 5 in each.
5 of each card.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it's
Yeah.
designed.
Building
You're
your
supposed
own.
to
And
have.
that's, yeah.
It's a 90-card deck that you can have 5 of each.
Oh.
But they have to, if you have multiple copies of the same card, they have to be different colors. So
Interesting.
you can't have the same color more than once with the same card, but you can definitely have more than one copy of that card.
Yeah, I could see people buying tons of these cards just for that purpose. I mean,
Right.
if they're priced right and if everything's makes
Well,
Like
you can only have a
ultimate-
certain amount per, like,
Right.
for numbers.
Yeah.
But ultimately-
5s you could have the least amount, 4s.
Right.
Ultimately, if I was if I was invested in the game, like ultimately I would just buy enough that I'd had, 12 of each card. There's 12 colors. So
Yeah.
I'd have 12 of each card
12
and
of
I'd
each.
have one of each color. And then, every once in a while I'd be like, man, I really don't like how I colored my green one. I'd get a different one and want to color my, a slightly different shade of green one.
Well, and then a whole bunch of new ones come out with new characters
Yeah.
and new abilities. You'd probably want to buy those too. So it's got the potential to
Be expanded upon.
be really,
Right.
really good.
Yeah.
But again, I think it needs some development help, and I think we all experienced that.
Right.
Even when I was winning, I wasn't. For as bad as I felt when I was getting crushed, I didn't feel as equally good when I was winning.
When you were crushing
So there
it.
was kind of that weird feeling of, I didn't feel, I felt competitive for some reason. I probably shouldn't have. I felt competitive when I was crushing my opponent, but I felt just completely
Lost.
belittled
behind.
and destroyed and horrible feelings when I was just getting rolled on at the start of that next game.
Yeah.
Which, even though that one turned around and I ultimately ended up winning that game, for the first half I just thought, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how to catch up. Fortunately, I was able to muster everything I had, and I threw it at his best guys and killed him over a few rounds, slowed his winning, and then I just happened to get lucky and draw a huge hand where I had 2 5s and a 4 and a couple of 3s.
Well, yeah.
And that reversed the momentum, and those guys, that hand never really fully died off from then on. So
Right.
had I not gotten that huge hand, the momentum probably wouldn't have shifted, and he would have just won. So it was really hard to shift. It was a very
and I think
momentum-based
it's just,
game.
it's so luck-based that you can't control what's coming up next. It's just a random, I have these. Just in the mode you had us do a 36 card, you just gave us one of each. We got to see how they played, but we weren't able to really strategically say, I want this deck, I want this many mages, and I want this many hunters, and I want this many this many that. We're like, okay, I got an alien with a bunch of other cards that if I want to reveal this, it's going to destroy my whole thing, and hopefully, hopefully the next time he doesn't come up with something that's going to destroy my entire board or
Yeah, you
get rid
couldn't
of
really
my
affect
biggest
your
card.
probabilities.
Yeah,
But
it
even
was
with
just out of your hands when you're going against counters, level up counters, that you're just looking like, well, I can just go all in, do that, and have a bunch of little ones and twos, and maybe not be able
Yeah.
to control it.
For me, if I could have affected those probabilities in some way, like if I could have worked on constructing my deck, which I couldn't, and I think Ryan mentioned this in between the video, because I couldn't have effectively constructed a deck before the game because I had to play the game to really get the feel for the game, and so I couldn't effectively construct a deck until then. But this deck as a starter deck becomes a little bit tricky in that there are so many cards you have to learn, and so every time you're drawing a card, you're reading it and
every
trying to
card's
understand.
unique. So
Yeah.
literally, the first time you're playing the game, every card you pick up
So you don't know how to
is
anticipate
new.
it, yeah.
Right, and there's a lack of. So I wanna put this little disclaimer up that I think we all really like the design of your game, and we're all really excited about this game and its potential. And that's why we kind of want to discuss the things that we would tweak to it, or kind of give you some ideas to develop out what we think is a really solid design more. So take all of this coming from people who think you have a good design and
I think it's
want
a
to
great
push
design.
it, and want to push it
One
forward.
of the best we've seen, I
So
think.
yeah, so number one,
my opinion.
is the one of the first things that you should, I think at least, for your goals as you continue to develop this game, is keep in mind that the game should teach players how to play it and teach players how to be good at it. Good game design forces players or guides players towards these things, and it gives them all the tools, but it lets them, it informs them like this is how you do it, but then it also gives them possibilities for maybe doing it better or expanding on it. And almost any game in this kind of genre, even be it like from a deck builder, that you'll usually see in the rules, start with these cards. Like if you're playing Legendary, it'll say start with these superheroes. If you're playing Dominion, it'll say start with these properties. And if you go out, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Magic, whatever you want to look at, they all have starter decks out there that are designed to do that. And while I'm playing through the game, I'm looking at your set, and maybe like when I ship this to people, I would ship it with some instructions of like, try putting this deck together, or try putting this deck together. Like, try an alien, a bunch of aliens with a bunch of aliens and a bunch of things that sacrifice your stuff. A bunch of aliens and a bunch of warlords with a bunch of really cheap, no good things that you want to like burn through, or things that
I would chime in though,
Right.
and add the fact that all of those games that Ryan mentioned, they all absolutely have so many different possibilities in cards, whether it's Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or Dominion or any of these cards. They have so many, but they don't pile it all on you at the first. Because I have 36 unique combinations in this deck, it becomes difficult. I remember playing like the Thief and being like, oh, I get how the Thief plays.
Right.
And it would be really helpful in this instance where Ryan or Adam's running away with the lead on me, that I could still back some of those. So if I had a few, but he killed my Thief really quickly, and so I didn't get to use it a lot. So like having that familiarity with the cards, and players know, oh, I know what this card does, and I know how to effectively use it, is a good reinforcement tool for somebody starting. I think another good example of a game that does that is Arkham Horror, the living card game, or any of the living card games through Fantasy Flight, honestly. Often what they'll do is they say, okay, you want to play with this style of a deck, here are the cards you should start with. Once you get familiar with these cards, now move in and do your own deck construction. And these are the parameters how to deck build, but don't start with the deck building because it's so overwhelming.
It is. Like, deck building's a pretty intimidating thing. And when we were just coloring these, because we, just by the nature of what we're doing here, Colin and I just had to color these cards without ever playing the game, really.
Well, and I really enjoyed that. Like I was doing.
Oh, yeah,
I
the
did
actual
that-
coloring
I
was-
did that
was
all
great.
last night. What I did is I systematically went through, looked at every card, looked at every ability, decided which color I was doing for which card based on what I thought would make a good either attacker or defender, and be able to. I was thinking about how I would be able to build my patrols right off the bat and say, okay, this really works really well with this, but this has to be a very good attacker, this has to be a good defender. I want to use this as a trick that, like, I really loved the hide ability, that I was like, okay, these cards are going to be really solid for hide. And
Right.
that was so fun for me, choosing how I was going to color these. Like, that was, there's so much strategy. I was thinking about it all day today, just by myself.
Yeah, that
like,
experience itself is just so enveloping. Like it's
Right.
such a good experience.
But you are also a seasoned deck builder who's played like a lot of Magic and has that experience of
Yeah.
building decks a lot. So it is inherently less intimidating to you than it might be to someone who's this is their first experience with this kind of card game. So I would just
And I
know-
want to add on too that another problem I saw, or I don't know if you want to say this is a problem, but it was something I noticed while I was coloring, is that your ones and your zeros are not going to be able to have certain abilities, so you're kind of eliminating half the colors from a lot of them.
Well, actually, the rules on that, and because I had something specific,
I
when
was
you're
like,
reading
yeah,
the
if you
rules,
go
they were
down
confusing.
-1.
Well, it said, and then it said, so it said, like on the ones it said, +2 attack, -1 health.
Yes.
Level 1 characters remain at 1 attack.
Oh, I
that
didn't see that.
make sense. Well, that didn't. That's. It says +2 attack, but level 1 characters remain at 1 attack, and I think it might be a typo and 1 health.
yeah.
Either way, you saw throughout the videos, or hopefully, you watched the gameplay videos. You saw there were a lot of confusions with the rules, a lot of things that need to be clarified. And I don't know if I think getting into the point where like you're building decks for people, we might be getting a little far ahead of ourselves. I think there are some basic things that we'd like to talk about.
yeah.
Number one, I think that the permanent levels, and I think we all kind of feel like this, the permanent levels have to go.
Yeah.
You don't want counters that are staying on cards that you're flipping over, and that just leads to runaways. Maybe make the temporary counters a little easier to get, or have creatures that used to give, or units that used to give a +1 level bonus to everybody permanently, give a +2 temporary one, or something like that. But when you flip the cards over, the counters should go off of them. Having the counters on the cards and under the cards and revealed and not revealed.
Gives a lot of information and it
Right, I think
exacerbates
it
that
kinda-
feeling of helplessness, hopelessness. And
Right.
when you can see, like, Adam
Adam's
in his
pile
game,
of-
where he got the Warlord early on, and I couldn't stop that Warlord because I had a hand of ones and
Ones.
twos.
Well, and
Zero
it froze at
and
some point, so you couldn't see how bad some of my
Yeah,
guys got.
he
They were
powered
piled
them
up with so much stuff.
Right.
that it just became so overwhelming that I was like, I can't touch any of
And
those.
Yeah, I
It
felt
froze
the
at
same
11,
way.
and I got all
Yeah.
the way to 17 before
That
we
it's like
realized.
there's just no way that I'm going to be able to keep
Absolutely.
a revealed card, especially if there's a ranged card out. There's no way you're keeping a
Well,
revealed
and
card
even
out
then, there's a
that's-
point-
has no level on it.
There's
It's
a
just not
point
gonna
at
happen.
which they, like Adam even
well, my
got, and I think
ranged guy
Ryan got
was
this
like
for
a
you.
12 or something. like
That's what
that.
I mean.
Yeah.
And I didn't know
Get-
I could distribute his attack, and if I did, I would
Would've
have
wasted me,
I would
yeah.
have blasted like.
But the thing
four
is,
of your
when you
guys at
get
the
to
same
that
time and killed
point,
them all.
and as an opponent of that, I just felt like
Like, I'm just going to
I
scoop
can't,
up and
like,
I
even
was,
when I
like,
combine all of my attacks, like, even when I sacrifice my entire hand, I either have to
tied
do
me.
the entire hand and can't stop you, or I ended up in one instance
Right.
killing my entire hand and tied him, and I was like, well, that was pointless.
And then you died because.
And then I died, yeah.
Right. So,
Well,
yeah, because
and so I think to go back to one of your previous points, and I'll make this so quick, but I think they're right. I think simplifying the opening deck would help if you had 12 unique cards 3 times over. Well,
Yeah.
so
X
then,
amount.
You need
but then
multiples. You need
have
some
the
consistency.
you have the ability to
Right.
create rare cards. They're all rare cards right now.
Right.
And if you create redundancies, then you can actually create rare cards that are really fun to get. But you're going to color all those different. So your 3 to 4 thieves are all going to be different thieves. Like there will
Right.
be so much variety in this game. I don't think you have to worry about that. I would say condense. I agree with these guys.
Yeah.
Condense that starting deck. Make it simpler. You'll play uncolored the first time or first few times. And then once you color that thing, even if there's so many redundancies in it, it's all going to be different anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you don't have to worry about uniqueness in this
Yeah.
game. You got
Right.
it's tons of it. So
Right.
Yeah,
you
there's
can
lots.
And
simplify and
generally-
still be super unique.
Right, and generally, like Adam was kind of implying there, but I want to just say outright, the rarer the cards get, the more complicated they should get, and they generally are like that. But you should have, some of the easier, more straightforward cards, like this one has +1 health or +1 level while attacking. You should have 2 or
Yeah.
3 of those in the deck. And then the ones that do more complicated things, like flip this over to sacrifice a thing and give everything else a bonus for the turn, or split this attack between 3 different. You have one of those because then they're more powerful. You can push them a little more, and like you said, you make them rarer, and then the color and everything like that. And you do have the deck building rules and everything like that. But design the decks a little more like that. If
And I want to clarify when you're saying rare, I'm not interpreting that as to say this has to be a collectible card game.
No,
You're saying
no.
the distribution of cards
Rare
in
in the
deck
set.
It's like
yes.
my whatever
Like
just
I
came out.
have one
Right.
alien card in my starter deck, and
Well, and that's
Right.
he does
You have
design
one
it like
alien
that. I'm
and
pretty
4.
sure in the rules
Right.
that's the way it is. You can only have so many 5s, so many 4s.
I just wanted-
it
Right.
already-
Yeah,
it
yeah,
already
yeah.
I
is
just
there.
wanted to
Right.
clarify
And
that.
those 5s, which are the rarer ones,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
but
So
in the
I did-
set,
It
right.
does not have to go the
No.
direction of the
I'm not saying
collectible card
it's
game.
collectible rarity.
Right.
It is the whatever the power level or
Yeah.
the yes. But I
The
would even
scarcity.
say
I'd
I
say
would even say
scarcity
yeah I
more
would
so.
even say that because like you look at you look at like legendary
Right.
and each superhero has their one ultimate card
deal,
and
yeah.
that's a rare card.
And those
I
are
mean
so
yeah.
fun to get.
Right, and it's more exciting to get, and it's a
Even
big
when it doesn't
event.
come out in the game,
Right, and you
every
remember it.
time I search the deck to see where it was and when it was coming out, how close were we? Like,
Right.
you want that thing to come out, and even if it doesn't, you're like, oh, it's 3 cards away,
Yeah.
dang it! Or is it the
And you
bottom?
do-
We were never
you-
going to see that thing.
You
like,
do have those in
that's
there
fun.
with the 5s.
It's just
Yeah.
fun. It's always
Okay.
fun.
And
Tried
I-
and true. So I didn't
I
mean
want
to
to
like.
talk about the different language cards too. I thought it was kind of clever, but they do mean something, and we don't know what it means. And you can find out what it means, so someone can say it means whatever, and there's no way to really tell that's what this
yeah.
is.
The
So
Russian and the
I feel like
Chinese
that's
one
a
or
little
whatever.
muddy. And it's kind of clever, but I don't think I would add that in this game because it's a little frustrating.
I would
and
just
Maybe
put
it's
their
flavor
a little
text.
yeah,
silly.
exactly.
but
I would
not
put
the
their
power.
flavor text
Yeah,
in
the
another
flavor text was
language.
good, but like the fact that they actually did have words in another language that you could actually go and figure out, and people could have different interpretations. Oh, this means this means this, because things get lost in translation. I just don't. I think I'd cut them.
Yeah. But it was fun.
So I kind of took us backwards with that
Yeah. But yeah, but
redundancy
ultimately
comment, but
right.
I had something I really wanted to say. I think my overall feeling about this game, and I'm going to say this. Well, first I'll preface and frame it with, I think this is one of the best designed games I've personally seen come through Gamesmiths, which we've seen a lot of games at this point.
I'd caveat that for me personally and put
One
it
of.
has one of the best. It has maybe the best hook in the game. Like the
this
hook
has-
in this game.
The
is-
design of
It's
this
very- super
has a
unique.
ton of potential.
Yeah.
And so, but when I look at this game, I didn't do any research before tonight or whatever, but Tyson said it was on Kickstarter, and so I went and looked up the Kickstarter, watched a couple of your videos, and in one of the videos you said, well, at first it was just a comic book that you were trying to go and promote, and so you created some collectible cards to promote the comic book, and then you started playing around with the collectible cards because they were cool, and then you thought, let's make a game out of the cards, and it just felt like kind of an afterthought of what you actually wanted to do, which was create a comic book. But I think this game still feels like that to me. So I said first, I think this is one of the best designed games I've seen come through Gamesmiths. So then now I'll say kind of the hard part of like, I feel like it just kind of stayed an afterthought. I feel like this game needs a lot of development, and I think even that you've done 2 Kickstarter campaigns so far with $100 minimum pretty much tells me you're just kind of, it's still not a serious project for you. It's still not something you're saying, I am going to go out and make an excellent game, which I think the design is something that could be an excellent game. I really do. I think very few games have that something in them that's like, wow, this could be special. And I think this has got it, but you're not treating it that way. And I think if you gave it the attention and the energy that would require to make it a special game, I think it's got all the potential to get there based on how much you really want to invest in this game. And I've never said that on GameSmiths before, but I think this could be a game that people like Magic, I don't know. It's an anomaly. You have to have some really lucky things happen for so many communities to build around a game, and people just buy it like crazy and spend
This could definitely be collectible.
crazy amount, but it could.
Yeah,
like you
I
have to
think
have
so.
a few things go right to make it that big, but it's a game that people could obsess over with the coloring, and
People
it's
love
different.
coloring.
It
Like-
could present, it can market so well. There's so many things that this concept has going for it that if you really tried to do it very well, I don't think you'd run into its boundaries of how big you could try to grow this game. You'd need some lucky breaks to turn it into a Magic type game, but it's got the potential. I could see so many people obsessing over the coloring, over the just buying deck after deck after booster pack after booster pack of this stuff.
And people even making contests of what's the best looking card, and like you could have so many little.
Well, and
aftermarket
how much pride you take in
Yeah.
just pushing that card out because you spent so long coloring it and it's perfect, and it's just like everyone's like, oh.
Well,
Just-
that's, I mean,
They've seen the card before, but the way you colored it's just like, oh my
Right.
gosh,
Well,
and everyone's
there are
talking.
communities out there of people that
Yeah,
do that
absolutely.
with Magic cards and alter them and just
They
like,
do.
here it
Oh,
is.
wow.
And now, but you have this like built-in thing where that can even help build a community. But
There's
yeah, I
so
think-
many levels that this
yeah,
could
but
be
I think,
that kind
I
of a
think
game.
what Adam's saying is right.
But you
is-
just haven't really, again, the whole like two Kickstarters at $100 minimums. That first one raised $800 and some dollars, and now you're at 300 and some. Like again, that's not to make you feel bad at all, but it's just to say that something's not matching there.
we think
the
you could be
potential in
more
this design.
ambitious with what you.
Well, if you want to be,
Right.
you may not want to be, and that's fine, and you shouldn't feel bad for not wanting
Right.
to be. But if you
Right.
want to be, or if you're like, oh, really, it's that good, like you just didn't know. I honestly, we've seen a lot of games. I've seen a lot of games. I think it's that good. The design's that good that if you applied yourself to it, you wouldn't be wasting your time.
And that's not to say that there aren't issues. So I think
It needs
one
a lot
of
of
the other
development
things
help.
that I wanted to mention as far as potential fixes, or at least a problem that exists, I think Ryan started touching in on it with the permanent levels. I agree entirely. You got to
Yes, me
remove
too.
those because that contributes significantly to that runaway leader.
When you
But
flip the card over at the end of the round,
beyond
everything
that,
resets.
exactly.
Like,
Beyond that, you have so many different tokens and bits that the player needs to provide themselves, first of all, and that becomes problematic with, oh, how many do I need? What do I need? How does it work? And if I'm going to be doing that with a million different cards that have, oh, this card requires this token, am I going to have to get that for this game and things like that? So it creates
Right.
this unnecessary complexity to the maintenance of the game, to the setup, that detracts from the experience of the game itself. As opposed to, yeah, there is a lot of maintenance and setup with the coloring, but that's an experience in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to be, okay, I've got to count out this many tokens to be doing this many things, because
Right.
that's not the fun part of it. With the
especially
coloring, you've
with your
captured it.
especially with your like card battle game. You
Yeah.
just want to sit down and you want
Yeah.
the cards to be the main thing that you're interacting with. You don't want 6 different types of counters. You know, you don't want all that different stuff. You shouldn't need to have all this extra
Right.
stuff to play the game. And we have it lying around because we do
That's what we do.
But you know,
Too much stuff. Like
yeah, like, but normally most people won't have, you know, and I guess a bunch of coins and stuff like that. But ultimately, yeah, I think this just needs, like Adam was saying, it needs development. It needs to just be worked on. It needs to be played. You need to have people, you know, I don't know if we're the first people to play test it outside your group, but you need to give people the rules, let them play test it, see where it fails, see what needs clarification, see what people argue over. I mean, part of what is useful about our service are those gameplay videos. This is legitimately us just playing the game that we would play. You know, I've played plenty of games with these guys that are totally published, and we've had plenty of things where we're just like, I don't know, what's the rule there? I'm not entirely sure. Let's just go with this, and that's what people do. And if they pick a rule that maybe doesn't, because you know what, I'm not 100% sure that you meant that if a 4 attacks a 4 that nobody dies,
Right.
or that a 4 kills another 4.
Well, if that damage
because
stays
that's what
around, it would
or if
actually
damage
kill
stays
it.
Yeah,
around,
does
or
damage
damage
stay around?
reset.
That
Like,
was something I was really
you
thinking
had things
would.
That
but
really
you had
sways
things
the
that were
game,
called-
I mean.
you
Yeah.
had you had people attacking, and you say if your attack
And
is
adds
bigger
more
than
markers.
the defense, they die. But then you have other things that when they're revealed do damage, which
Right.
damage isn't a thing. So you need to clean up all of your wording, and that's the thing. That's the biggest thing about games like this is establish your templating and follow it. So damage is damage is damage is damage. Attack is attack is attack is attack.
Well, that was
you
another
can't
thing.
have like an
Reveal
attack-
is there, and
right.
reveal is an ability, and reveal is a term that you're using, and they don't necessarily mean the same thing at the same time. So
Right.
you've got stuff like
you
that
have
that
reveal
are
on all the
Yeah.
Right.
defensive
Defense
cards.
lines.
So like
even
yeah.
though-
So like in
and even on the design, your classification of what the card type is so tiny on here.
should pop out
that
way more.
It's so hard to tell the R between the P and the D. It's just
Yeah.
it could be anything. Especially I colored in some of them, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't even tell what that is anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well,
when-
and on a lot of games, we probably wouldn't suggest that all these nuancy things get fixed. But I don't think there's any level of investment that you can put into this game that couldn't potentially come back to you if you did it right.
right.
So I think all the nuancy stuff is important. I think either don't do anything at all, or if you're going to invest in this game, figure
Go
out
full
a
in.
way to go all in, because
Right.
it could be that good. Or the fact that you're sending it to us probably means you
You're
want
at
to
least
do
somewhat
something
serious
with it.
about it. Yeah.
And if that's the case, let me say that we're more than willing to continue to offer some advice and feedback if that's what you're looking for. We're also
Or even
Yeah,
just
if you-
point you in the right
point you-
direction.
yeah,
like,
give you resources, whatever you need.
but
We
either go
think there's a lot of
for it or
potential here.
don't. Just leave it how it is. It was entertaining. It was fun. Maybe
If you're going
tweak
to leave
some
it how
things.
it is, get rid of the permanent levels.
Yeah, get rid
At
of
the
some
very least,
runaway
yeah.
leaders, or at least
Yeah, 'cause that just
handicap.
lets-
I'd
in
say get
some
rid
way.
of white too. That's not a color, so.
Also, yeah, that was a
like
little
black,
disappointing.
you can actually cut change white to black because that actually requires coloring. But I was like, when I got to the white, I was like, oh, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
There actually were
light
some
grays.
colors.
I'm
that
not
were
gonna lie, I was a little
they
behind,
were
so I'm like,
like,
that's a white card, that's a white card, that's a white card.
like,
All right.
yeah, lime and
whites.
magenta.
Right.
Also, there's a couple colors that just kind of were hard. Like I got a whole pack of markers just for this.
Right.
And like there was just some of the colors. It was like I don't know.
Although if this goes as well as Warhammer, then you can sell your Patrol
Yeah, you can
brand
sell
of color
Yeah,
pencil
no, I
sets.
think it would be great if you sold.
So everyone can
if you
have their
sold a
white,
starter
lime, and
colored
magenta
pencil set
colored
with this.
pencils.
Because you're already going to save money on not having to have colored in cards,
But
which
that's
is
the
a great,
weird
awesome
thing.
design. But like, I think it would be amazing if this was like, if I was a little kid and this was something I could get started on. Oh my God! Like elementary school kids would love
age
to
groups,
color
but
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like starting off, but going up into adults, like you can have a huge market of young players that would love to just color these and then start playing, and it's simple enough that they could understand, and they'd also learn how to read. And there's lots of great ways you could use this in schools, but
Yeah.
if you provide those markers or those colored pencils or any kind of media, it would be a really
Which I
great start.
I think what you're saying, what we're all saying to a degree, is that we want to love the gameplay as much as we love the entire experience that
The
it
idea of the
teases.
gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. It teases
yeah.
this really amazing experience, and it doesn't quite deliver
Right.
in the gameplay.
And I think I had some really like solid turns. Like when I felt
Yeah,
like everything was
absolutely.
even. Like I think our first round was really good. The
I
very
thought
first
so
round
too,
we
yeah.
played, like All right, I pop this. All right, I counter with this. All right, I destroy that. We beat it all down. I ended up with one guy left over that was
Yeah.
kind of like a little 2-1. And
it
that
got you
got
to
bumped
1
up a
point,
little,
yeah.
got me 1 point, and then we came back in. But then things just started going and going. And then, but the next one, I got a really good card, and you didn't. And then I just started picking things off,
Yeah.
and then that snowballed and snowballed. So there were definitely like excellent moments and excellent turns, but the whole thing got a little overwhelming and a little much. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, we all think that you have a great design here, a lot of potential, and any true effort that you put in this isn't going to be wasted.
Well, if you just
well-
put a little in, I think you got to
Listen,
go for it
any-
or not. Like,
Well, yeah.
If you choose to go
that's what
for it,
said,
I
any
agree.
any true effort.
Yeah.
Like if you're actually going to put real effort into this,
Yeah.
that won't be a wasted affair. But I think the getting it to this, getting it from here to the point where it's something that people can just buy off the shelves is that like it's that last really tough 10% kind
Yeah.
of thing that just comes from
climbing
playing
to
it
the
over and
peak.
over again and being just really pedantic about stuff. Getting, like I said, you're for games like this, it's your templating down because you're going to say the same things over and over again in the fewest amount of words, and you have to be consistent. You know, in Magic, creatures attack and do damage equal to their power. So you have there the concept of attacking, which is an action, damage, which is the result of that, and power that determines how much that is. And then you have 3 different concepts that you can constantly play with. Attacking is a constant concept, power is a constant concept, and damage is a constant concept.
Yeah.
So then you can do things like, okay, if everybody is attacking, if attacking does damage, then other things can also do damage. And your initiate card, or your apprentice card, or whatever, the one that blows itself up, starts to make sense because now we understand what damage is. It can come from other things, but since, you know, attack isn't damage and damage isn't attack, but sometimes you use those interchangeably. So just clean up the rules, find the places where people get confused, and you know, do the kind of approach where like, okay, you wait until people get in an argument over something and then write the rule about it and make it very clear. And when someone brings up, oh, what about this? Then you just add another rule. Like you look at the rule books for stuff like this, and then you do things like have just a quick thing that explains how to play, but then have a rules compendium in the
FAQ
back,
or-
an
yeah.
FAQ that just builds out for all these specific scenarios. And you look at the games that are like this, any of the games that, because these things grow organically as people play them. New rules are added to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and Magic all of the time to just tweak things because of how people play them. And once enough people start playing them, you see the cracks and you grow the rules a little bit. And so I think you're just kind of ready to start on that journey. Get as many people as you can playing it, see where the cracks are, tighten them up. You know, find where the issues are, find where the arguments are, decide which way is right, and write that rule. And just grow your game and let it grow, you know, and develop it. That the development is something that happens over time. Things develop over time. You don't just have an idea, you develop, you know, you've had an idea and it's a great idea, and you develop it.
well, either goof off with it or go for it.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
You
I
don't
mean-
have to go for it.
No, I
but-
mean, but yeah, like.
but if you're going to put half,
you don't mean you don't need us to tell
if you're
you
going to
not
invest
to do
halfway
anything.
in it, that seems wasted.
Right.
It's either a goofy, fun project or you're going to go for it. But I
Well, you
think
spend so much time on the
living
artwork
in
and
limbo
everything.
is-
You need
Right.
to go for it.
living in,
Yeah.
I think you need to go for it. It would kind of be a shame if you didn't. But that's up to you. We're not here to really tell you that. But I think what we can say is go for it, or just say this is a goof off thing. I just want to play with my friends and have fun, and maybe sell a few to a few other people. But
Yeah.
I think you should go for it. Doing anything in between it, goofing off or going all in, seems wasted to me.
Yeah. So, in summary, we think you should go for it.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Awesome
th-
game.
we enjoyed your game. Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.